So I was surfing around YouTube the other day and I came across this YouTube channel that made all these videos about all these super famous people. People like Warren Buffett, Elon Musk, Mark Cuban, typically people involved in some sort of business, and they gave their 10 rules for success. I think the guy that had the channel, I think he probably does actually a really good job with making the videos. They're pretty high quality and everything. But when I just sort of looked at all of these videos about all of these really big famous people who found massive success throughout their lives, and then condensing all of their success into 10 tips in a single YouTube video, that kind of irked me. Now let me start off by saying I definitely believe in personal heroes. I think having a personal hero, or just people that motivate you, people to look up to, looking at others and saying that this guy did something similar to what I want to do with my life, he's showing me that it's something that's possible and that I shouldn't give up. I definitely think that's something that's perfectly okay to have. But when you lump all these great minds from the modern day into just these short little clips and condensing all their success into a few points on a YouTube video, it really made my stomach flip. Now maybe I wouldn't call this guy a personal hero of mine, but one person that I've definitely looked up to in the past and found very interesting, that I thought had a very interesting life story, is a guy called Jack Ma. Jack Ma is the founder of a company called Alibaba, which is currently the largest e-commerce company in all of China. Fun fact, the second largest business in the industry in China is Tencent, who's Alibaba's biggest rival and main competitor. About 8 months ago, I think it was now, Alibaba went live with their initial public offering, or IPO, on the New York Stock Exchange, and it was the largest IPO in its history. Because it was such a big event in the financial world, there were a bunch of interviews done with him and a bunch of news sites reporting on him and the company, because it was a company that's kind of unknown to the West, considering how China is pretty isolationist when you compare them to a lot of the West. For real, how many of you guys know what Alibaba is? Jack Ma actually has a really interesting life story though that 60 Minutes did a big special on. It's like a rags to riches kind of story. I believe he was born into poverty and then he went through schooling in China, but he was never an outstanding kid in school. He ended up barely passing. He's an interesting guy who took a trip to America in 1995 as a translator and discovered the internet and discovered Silicon Valley and was sort of inspired by all of these wondrous things about the internet that China didn't really have at the time. So he went back to China and decided that he wanted to start an internet business. He named it Alibaba. He worked on it very hard for the course of 8 years. He didn't turn a profit for the first 8 years, but now it's the biggest internet tech company in all of China, and it's also, I think it's also made him the richest man in China. If any of you guys who find any of that kind of stuff fascinating, I suggest that you go watch the 60 Minutes on it. I think it's up on YouTube somewhere. But when I saw his top 10 tips for success on this YouTube channel, again, my stomach just kind of flipped. I kind of realized Jack Ma's tips for success might not actually work at all for me. One of Warren Buffett's tips that he gives in the video is he says people should read a lot, and he talks about how he's always reading books or magazines or articles or company finance reports. Those company finance reports are actually one of the reasons he's a super successful investor. He has an uncanny ability to take a look at a company finance report, just sort of read over a company's financials, and then be able to value the business incredibly accurately. But just because reading is something that's done wonders for Warren Buffett doesn't mean that's going to necessarily work for Jack Ma. Jack Ma was going into uncharted territory. He couldn't just read a book on how to build a successful internet company. He had to figure all that out on his own. And naturally, his tips reflect that. His tips are stuff like get used to rejection, keep your dream alive, stay focused. And I think that's something that should be realized if any of you ever go out and watch one of these kinds of videos. When you get bogged down or frustrated after chasing a goal that doesn't seem to be working out, it can be really easy to look to others for motivation. Read articles, self-help books, find motivation through YouTube videos even. And it's definitely okay to look to others for guidance when you're going through some of your tougher challenges. But keep in mind, it's always you who's about to do something with your life that you've never done before, and naturally, you're going to have to do that on your own when it comes to crunch time. When you're down at the final stretch, it's going to be you who's achieving your own goals without the help of others. Realizing that and having the confidence in your own ability to do so is something that I think is pretty important. Anyway, that's all for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. I will, of course, see you all tomorrow, but until then, good luck in solo queue and have a wonderful day.